No one tells you this part. No one warns you that the path to greatness won't be lined with applause, but with silence. Not paved with clarity, but with confusion, shadows, and aching questions that echo into the dark. Because real growth, divine growth, never begins in comfort. It starts in the fire. It begins where everything feels like it's falling apart, but something deeper knows it's actually falling into place. God doesn't hand greatness to the comfortable. He hides it in the uncomfortable. He buries it in broken moments, in lonely nights, in seasons where your prayers are met with silence and your effort is met with resistance. Why? Because if greatness were easy, it would be counterfeit. If it cost you nothing, it would mean nothing. You want strength. God sends resistance. You ask for courage. He gives you fear to overcome. You pray for growth. He hands you pain. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because comfort makes you soft. But discomfort. Discomfort makes you sharp. It carves away the excuses. It breaks down the pride. It burns off the parts of you that were never meant to survive the journey ahead. Think about it. Moses found his calling in the wilderness. David was crowned king long before he ever sat on a throne while dodging spears and hiding in caves. Even Christ walked into the desert before he stepped into his destiny. Over and over the pattern repeats. Greatness is not given in the palace. It is forged in the prison. Not revealed in success, but in struggle. And you right now are in that forging. Maybe life doesn't make sense. Maybe you're asking why it hurts, why it's heavy, why you feel stuck while others seem to soar. But hear this, you are not stuck. You are in process. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. Because God doesn't anoint the untested. He anoints the broken, the stretched, the ones who stayed faithful when it felt like nothing was working, the ones who chose discipline over distraction, the ones who kept showing up not because they felt like it, but because they believed in what they couldn't yet see. Discomfort is heaven's invitation to dig deeper, to grow wiser, to stop playing small, and finally step into what you were called to carry. And let's be honest, if everything was easy, you wouldn't have changed. If nothing broke, you wouldn't have built anything. If you didn't lose what you thought you needed, you'd still be worshiping what was never meant to stay. The breakdown was necessary because it stripped you down to the part of you God can actually use. Not the persona, not the mask, not the image you crafted to be liked or safe or successful, but the core, the real you. The you that rises from the wreckage, determined to rebuild in truth, not trends. And that rebuilding, it begins when you stop running from the discomfort and start learning from it. Because discomfort doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to deliver you. Deliver you from your dependency on applause, from the addiction to being understood, from the illusion that the dream should come before the discipline. Discomfort is the refiner's fire, the divine sculptor's chisel, and every blow that hits your pride is actually carving your potential. But you have to stop asking for the pain to go away and start asking what it came to reveal. That fear you keep feeling, that's your ego being dismantled. That delay, that's time being used to test if your desire runs deeper than your dopamine. That confusion, it's God rerouting you from your plan to His purpose. And His purpose will always require your surrender, not once, but again and again. Because greatness isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily discipline. And discipline means staying in the discomfort long enough to let it do its job. You don't just need motivation. You need formation. The kind that doesn't come from hype or hustle, but from obedience in the unseen. The kind that trusts even when you're trembling. That moves forward even when it feels like you're walking blindfolded through the wilderness. Because that's where the great ones are born. Not in lights, but in loneliness. Not in comfort, but in calling. And God will keep you in discomfort as long as it takes to strip away everything in you that would sabotage the greatness He put inside you. So the question is not, God, when will it get easier? The real question is, God, what are you building in me that requires this level of pressure, because pressure precedes power. And the most dangerous man or woman in any room is the one who has learned to endure the heat and not run. The one who learned to smile in the storm because they know what's being built behind the scenes. The one who got used to rejection and stopped begging for permission. The one who stopped seeking comfort and started seeking calling. If that's you, if you're in the furnace right now, if everything in you wants to quit, but something deeper keeps whispering, keep going, that's not weakness, that's alignment. That's proof you're being shaped not for survival but for significance. You think pressure means something's wrong, but pressure is a sign that something holy is forming beneath the surface. Diamonds don't come from calm, they come from violent compression. And you are being compressed for a cause bigger than comfort. You prayed for purpose. Did you think it would come wrapped in ease? You asked to lead. Did you believe leadership was built in luxury? Every hero you've ever admired, every icon whose story lit a fire in your chest, walked through the kind of pressure that would have crushed someone who hadn't made a decision. A definitive decision to become who they were called to be. Do you understand? The discomfort is not chaos. It is construction. And right now, you are standing in the dust of the old version of you, watching it fall apart so the real you can rise from the ruins. You can't bring your excuses into your next season. You can't carry your fear into your legacy. You can't walk into your destiny while holding hands with who you used to be. At some point, you have to say, let it fall. Let it burn. Let the comfort die. I wasn't built to stay soft. I was born to stand strong. And that kind of resolve, it only comes through resistance. You have to stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start declaring, this is happening for me. Because everything you think is against you is actually sent to reveal what's within you. You don't just want the crown. You want the capacity to carry it. You don't just want the calling. You want the character to sustain it. And character isn't built in comfort. It's carved in conflict. It's easy to act disciplined when the path is smooth. It's easy to talk faith when everything's working. But when life rips the rug out from under you, when the doors slam shut, when the people you thought were your tribe vanish, that's the test. That's the fire. That's the moment where your old identity dies and a new one has the chance to be born, but only if you don't quit mid-birth. Don't confuse labor pains with failure. Don't mislabel the stretching as punishment. You're being enlarged, expanded, gutted of ego, stripped of safety, prepared for purpose. And you don't get to skip this part. God won't let you shortcut the process because shortcuts create shallow strength. You want depth. You want wisdom. You want divine fire in your bones that nothing can shake. Then you've got to let this fire refine you, not define you. You are not what you're going through. You are who you become because of it. So let it forge you, let it mature you, let it silence the noise of the world so you can hear the whisper of heaven. There is a version of you who is bold, disciplined, grounded, and unstoppable. But that version only wakes up after the old one has been disrupted. That's why the discomfort came, to shake the dust, to break the patterns, to rewire your reflexes. You thought it was about what you lost, but this was never about subtraction. This was about alignment. You can't live aligned and stay attached to everything that made you anxious. At some point, you have to choose. Choose between the comfort of the known and the courage of the becoming. Because your calling isn't waiting on your convenience. It's waiting on your courage. And courage doesn't show up in the absence of fear. Courage shows up despite it. Courage is not loud. Sometimes it's a whisper that says, even if I'm trembling, I'm still going. Courage is not always heroic. Sometimes it's boring. Waking up early, showing up tired, choosing discipline when no one's watching. It's in the doing, the repeating, the trusting, when everything in you is screaming to give up. And that kind of courage, that unshakable inner spine, can only be born in discomfort. So if you're uncomfortable today, don't numb it. Don't run from it. Don't medicate it with distraction or applause. Sit in it. Grow in it. Let it teach you what ease never could. Because there's a version of you on the other side of this fire, and they are worth fighting for. If this message hit you deep, if you're done living stuck, if this stirred something you know you can't ignore, like the video not for us, but as a signal to yourself that this moment mattered, drop a comment. Let us know what you're breaking free from. Share it. Someone in your life is silently drowning, waiting for a word like this. You're not broken. You're becoming. You're not lost. You're being led through unfamiliar territory on a path custom-made for your transformation. And that ache in your chest, that emptiness, it's not a void to fill with cheap habits or temporary applause. It's sacred space, reserved only for what's real, what's eternal, what's built by faith, not by fear. You've been trained your whole life to chase what feels good, to chase ease, to chase validation. But greatness is not microwaved. It's not handed out like candy. It's forged in the hidden places, in the late nights when no one claps, in the hard choices no one sees, in the moments when you could compromise but don't. That's where the real you is built, not the version everyone likes, not the version you curated for comfort, but the version who is rooted, who is relentless, who doesn't shrink when life gets heavy because they know their strength doesn't come from circumstance. It comes from decision. You will never outgrow the need for discomfort if you want to grow into your calling, because comfort makes you forget. It makes you forget why you started. It makes you settle for what is easy and abandon what is necessary. But discomfort wakes you up. It forces you to reevaluate. It humbles you. It purifies your motives. And when you stop resisting it, you begin to see what it's revealing. The old you was loyal to survival, but the new you is loyal to mission. The old you sought comfort. The new you craves alignment. The old you needed applause. The new you operates in silence because they know the most dangerous version of you is the one who no longer needs to be seen to move. So if you're hidden right now, if no one's noticing your growth, your consistency, your quiet obedience, you are exactly where God wants you. He hides weapons before He uses them. He hides champions before He sends them. He hides diamonds in pressure. He hides warriors in wilderness. Because what's hidden can't be tampered with. What's hidden can't be diluted by the noise of opinions. What's hidden can't be sabotaged by premature exposure. You're not being punished. You're being preserved. And when the time is right, when your spine is strong, when your motives are pure, when your heart is ready, the doors will open that no man can shut. But not before. Because if the old you walks through a new door, you'll sabotage the very thing you've been praying for. So this discomfort, this quiet place of wrestling and wondering, this is mercy. This is training. This is God preparing you for rooms your character must be strong enough to carry. And if that's the price, if this fire is the tuition for becoming unshakable, then let it burn. Let it burn away every excuse. Let it consume every version of you that chose fear over faith. Let it turn your pain into power. Because the real test is not what happens to you. It's what you build with what happened. Now is not the time to shrink. Now is not the time to wait for permission. Now is the time to decide, who am I going to be? When no one else believes, who am I going to be? When the applause stops, who am I going to be? When discomfort shows up uninvited, and demands I become more than I ever thought possible. Because your future won't be handed to you. It must be claimed. And you don't claim it in your comfort. You claim it in your consistency. And the ones who rise, the ones who change their bloodline, who change their city, who change their legacy, they aren't the most talented. They aren't the most gifted. They're the most disciplined, the most obedient, the most willing to endure the discomfort long enough for the greatness inside them to wake up. So wake up. You were not born to play small. You were not created to stay hidden in fear, to dance around your calling, or bury your potential in the soil of what's safe. You were made for more. And the proof you're still here, still breathing, still fighting, still being shaped, still being sharpened. And if God is still shaping you, it means He's not done using you. Let's keep going. And if you could see that version of you right now, you'd understand why this process couldn't be rushed. You'd stop begging God to end it early. You'd stop negotiating with the fire because you'd see what it's burning off. The addiction to validation. The false identities built on performance. The ego that screamed for spotlight but wasn't ready for responsibility. The habits that got applause but robbed you of alignment. This isn't punishment. This is precision. Heaven doesn't waste pain. Every moment of discomfort is a tool in the hands of a master sculptor, chiseling you into someone who can carry glory without cracking. Because there's no anointing without crushing, no influence without integrity, no calling without character, and no arrival without endurance. You want your life to rise. Then your roots have to go deep. That means dark seasons. That means unseen obedience. That means holding the line when no one claps. And it means waking up when your flesh begs to sleep in mediocrity. This is the kind of greatness God hides in discomfort. It's not about image. It's not about speed. It's about depth, obedience, and an unwavering spine that hell cannot bend. Because the version of you that walks in purpose must be able to carry rejection without losing focus. Must be able to stay pure in secret and powerful in public without performing for either. That's what this season is training in you. Not just goals, but grit. Not just dreams, but discipline. Not just passion, but perseverance. Because it's not enough to want it. You must become the kind of person who can sustain it. Success without structure will destroy you, and blessings without backbone will break you. That's why this fire feels personal. It's burning through every part of you that was never meant to enter your next chapter. This isn't about surviving the flames. It's about being reborn in them. You can't pray for purpose and then complain when it costs your comfort. You can't ask for transformation and then resist the tension required to stretch you. You can't beg for breakthrough, but stay loyal to your broken habits. No growth has a price, and most people won't pay it. But if you're still here, still listening, still breathing through the burn, then maybe you're not most people. Maybe, just maybe, you're one of the few who sees discomfort not as a stop sign, but as a signal. A sign that something deeper is being constructed. A sign that your life is being anchored so it doesn't drift with every wave of opinion or storm of doubt. Because here's the truth. Anyone can build when it's easy, but only the committed keep building when it's silent. Only the grounded grow when it's hidden. Only the chosen stay obedient when it's hard. And God doesn't elevate those who fake discipline. He elevates those who have proven it in private. So if the silence is loud right now, if your prayers feel unanswered, if your work feels unseen, keep going. Heaven is still watching. And your next season is still being prepared, but only for the version of you that survives this one. Because what you're walking through right now, this pressure, this silence, this slow burn, it's not punishment, it's precision, it's protection. God isn't withholding your promise. He's withholding your premature exposure. Because greatness without roots is dangerous, and success without scars is fragile. The world celebrates speed, but heaven celebrates strength. And strength is forged in the quiet when you keep walking without applause, keep showing up without validation, keep sowing when the harvest looks impossible. This is where real leaders are formed, not in stages, in silence, not in claps, in commitment, not in praise, in pressure, because anyone can start strong, but only the surrendered finish full. And here's the truth most won't say out loud. There's a version of success that looks good but is empty. There's a version of elevation that crushes those who aren't ready. There's a version of winning that costs your soul. So God in His mercy delays what you thought was the destination, so He can develop what will sustain it. And it's not to break you, it's to build you. He's pruning your pride, He's refining your motives. He's breaking every addiction to applause so you don't confuse noise with purpose. Because if the enemy can't destroy you with failure, he'll try to distract you with flattery. And if he can't derail you with doubt, he'll try to seduce you with comfort. But discomfort, real holy. Discomfort, it's the only thing that strips you of both. It sobers your focus. It silences the ego. It stretches your spirit beyond what your flesh wants until you finally realize. This isn't about what you want anymore. It's about what you're called to carry. You're not just here to build a brand. You're here to break generational bondage. You're not just here to post quotes. You're here to walk in power. You're not just here to chase success. You're here to embody character. And that kind of life, that kind of legacy, it doesn't come cheap. It costs you everything. Fake everything flimsy, everything that would have buckled under real pressure. And that's why the fire came. Not to destroy your dream, but to destroy your delusions. Not to stop your purpose, but to strip your pride. You're being emptied for a reason, because vessels that are full of ego can't carry divine assignments, and hearts addicted to comfort can't walk through kingdom doors. So let Him empty you. Let Him stretch you. Let Him bring you to the end of your strength, so you finally lean on His. Because on the other side of this fire is not just your next season, it's your new identity. And the old you, the one built on fear, performance insecurity. They can't survive the temperature of where you're going. If this message hit you deep, if you're done living stuck, if this stirred something you know you can't ignore, like the video not for us, but as a signal to yourself that this moment mattered. Drop a comment. Let us know what you're breaking free from. Share it. Someone in your life is silently drowning, waiting for a word like this. The old you, they could talk a good game, but they collapsed when pressure came. The old you, they needed applause to feel valuable, needed certainty to move, needed permission to act. But the new you move in silence. You obey in discomfort. You no longer beg for doors, you build them brick by brick in the dark. Because you've learned something most people never do. Comfort isn't a blessing if it costs you your purpose. Safety isn't peace if it requires you to shrink. And ease isn't success if it means you stayed small. So now you've stopped asking, why is this happening to me? And you've started declaring, this is happening for me. You've stopped praying for escape and started asking for endurance. You've stopped wishing for the storm to pass and started learning how to walk on water. Because God doesn't need your perfection. He needs your participation. He's not looking for the most talented. He's looking for the most surrendered. He's not impressed by polish. He's moved by persistence. You don't have to feel brave to be bold. You don't have to feel ready to obey. You don't have to know the whole path to take the next step. Just move. Even if your hands shake, even if your heart races, even if your mind screams, what if? Because obedience isn't about clarity, it's about trust. It's about saying, God, I don't understand it, but I believe you're in it. It's about stepping out while it still hurts, while you still feel forgotten, while nothing around you looks like the breakthrough you were promised. It's about obeying in the dark, not because it feels good, but because you know. Who told you to move? Because the truth is, everyone wants elevation, but no one wants excavation. Everyone wants harvest, but few are willing to live through the drought. Everyone wants glory, but most flee the grind. But you stayed. You wept and still worshipped. You questioned, but didn't quit. You broke, but you rebuilt. And in doing so, you became the kind of person God can trust with more. The kind of person who doesn't just want success, but is becoming success. Not the kind that fades with applause, but the kind that multiplies in silence. Because you were faithful with pain, you'll be trusted with power. Because you were obedient in lack, you'll be elevated in legacy. Because you didn't skip the season of discomfort, you're now carrying the strength that can't be shaken by success or suffering. And it all began when you chose to stay in the fire, to let it refine what applause would have masked, to let it rebuild what pride would have ruined, to let it shape the you that the old life never could contain. So if you're still in it right now, if the heat's still on, if the noise is still loud, if your knees are still trembling, don't stop. You're almost through the breaking point that births transformation. The breaking point isn't where it ends, it's where it begins. Because real power isn't born in comfort, it's born in the tension between your fear and your faith. It's born when you keep showing up after life tried to bury you. See, this generation has been taught to chase ease, to seek applause, to run from pain. But you've been called to something different. You've been called to endure, not because life will always make sense, but because your destiny requires resilience. Because breakthrough never goes on sale. It's never found in the clearance aisle of effort. It costs everything average people aren't willing to pay. And that's why God is still hiding you, still training you in the cave, still cutting away everything that clings to comfort but can't carry your calling. He's keeping you hidden, not because you're forgotten, but because you're being forged. Forged in silence, forged in routine, forged in the 1,000 unseen moments where nobody claps for your discipline. That's where greatness grows, in the monotony. In the mornings where you rise before excuses do. In the nights where you go to bed empty knowing you gave it everything even though no one noticed. Because you've finally learned you don't need a crowd to feel called. You don't need a platform to walk in purpose. You don't need affirmation to take authority. All you need is a made-up mind. A heart that says, I may not feel ready, but I'm already chosen. Because chosen doesn't mean comfortable. It means called. It means you've been pulled out of the line of normal and marked for something that costs more. You can't keep thinking like the world and expect to walk in heaven's power. You can't keep craving approval and expect to move mountains. At some point, you have to get brutally honest with yourself. Are you building for validation or for victory? Are you living to be seen or to be solid because storms are coming? And likes won't keep you standing. Comfort won't carry you through crisis. But discipline will. Obedience will. Conviction will. You need roots deeper than your feelings. You need values bigger than your emotions. You need purpose that can't be canceled by pain. And all of that is being formed in this fire. So stop trying to escape it. Start letting it extract your greatness. You are not in this season to suffer. You are in this season to shed the insecurity, the old habits, the unworthy thinking, the fear of what-ifs, and the need to be understood. You are becoming the type of person who isn't shaken by silence, isn't derailed by detours, isn't paralyzed by pressure. You are becoming the person you used to pray for, but you won't find them in ease. You'll meet them in the moments you almost gave up and didn't. You thought this was the ending. But endings are just beginnings, disguised in discomfort. You thought the silence meant you were abandoned, but silence is the classroom where God teaches clarity. You weren't buried, you were planted. And planted things must first be hidden, pressed beneath pressure, forgotten by the surface, before they rise. That's why this moment feels so heavy, because weight is the proof that something is forming. And right now, something divine is stretching inside you. Not a new idea, not a better routine, a new identity. An identity that doesn't flinch when storms hit. An identity that doesn't bend when rejection shows up. An identity that walks into fire and says, "If I burn, I burn. But at least I burned walking forward." You don't need another promise. You need a decision. A brutal, bold, no-turning-back decision that mediocrity will not survive in your presence. Not anymore. Because comfort is the enemy of calling. And you've cuddled it long enough. It told you to stay still when you were born to move. It whispered, "Wait," when your future was screaming now. It convinced you to shrink when your spirit was ready to expand. You think God is punishing you? No. He's protecting the purpose inside you from being corrupted by comfort. He's letting you feel the full weight of discipline, so you can carry the full weight of destiny. Because the truth is, most people will never walk in their calling. Not because they weren't gifted, but because they refused to be uncomfortable. They ran when the pressure came. They hid when the test arrived. They gave up when the fire got too hot. But not you. You are still here, still breathing, still battling, still getting up when quitting looked easier. Because there's something in you that won't die. Something God planted that fire can't burn out. Criticism can't shut down, and failure can't erase. It's in your blood. It's in your bones. It's in your breath. Every time you whisper, "I don't feel ready, but I refuse to run." You don't need to feel brave. You just need to obey. Because obedience opens doors that talent never could. So don't wait for perfect timing. Don't wait for applause. Don't wait for permission. Move. Move while it's messy. Move while it's painful. Move while your voice shakes and your knees buckle. Because obedience isn't just what you do, it's who you are becoming. And that version of you, the one who obeys even when it hurts, the one who shows up even when it's scary, the one who chooses discipline over distraction, they're about to step into a life no one will believe you built. Not because of luck, not because of ease, but because of your decision to grow through the fire instead of escape it. So if you're still standing after the storms, the silence, the setbacks, know this. You weren't broken. You were built. You weren't delayed. You were developed. You weren't disqualified. You were destined. This is not the end. This is your rise. Your calling didn't leave. It was waiting for you to get stronger. It was waiting for you to stop begging for ease and start moving in obedience. The fire wasn't to punish you, it was to prove you. Now you know. Now you see. God doesn't waste pain, He weaponizes it. He forges kings and queens in discomfort. And now you're ready to reign. But hear this, someone needs this fire too. Someone is stuck where you were, drowning in doubt, paralyzed by fear, waiting for a voice that reminds them, discomfort is not the enemy, it's the entrance. Be that voice. Share this message. Comment below what fire you've walked through. Your courage might unlock someone else's. Like this video if it lit something inside you. And if you're ready to keep rising, hit subscribe, because this is only the beginning. God hides greatness in discomfort. And now that you've walked through the fire, you don't just carry the flame, you are the fire.